There is something that you use every single day that you wake up thinking about it. You work for it, stress over it, argue about it, and sometimes even pray for it. And yet, most people have never stopped to ask one question, which is what is money? You know, not in the textbook way or the boring definitions your economic teacher, gave you in secondary school. Like honestly, what is it? Why does a small piece of paper or a number on your phone screen have so much power over your life? Um, Today, on Behind the Numbers, we are going back to the very beginning just to make you understand what money truly is. Everything else about wealth, money, business, investing never makes sense if you don't do this. Hi guys, welcome back to an episode of Behind the Numbers, the channel where we go beyond the headlines to uncover how money, businesses, and wealth really works. I am Mel, and now let's get into it. So most people don't think about this, but money is not natural. It's definitely not a tree, nor is it water. It is not even hair. So human being invented it, and before we invented it, we had something else. So look at this scenario. Imagine, imagine you're a farmer in ancient times. You grow yam, and your neighbor raises chickens. So you're hungry for chicken. Your neighbor is hungry for yam. So what do? You trade. Simple, right? So this is called barter, trade by barter. But barter had a massive problem. So the problem is, what if your neighbor doesn't want your yam? What if he wants fish? Now you have to go find someone with fish who wants yam. Then you trade your yam for the fish, and then come back and trade the fish for chicken. Isn't that exhausting? Of course it is. So human being got creative. That is, we different societies started using different objects that everyone agrees has value. Where Africans uses cowrie shells, and then in some parts of Europe they make use of salt, and in some civilizations they make use of gold and silver. So this became early forms of money. The key word here in this phrase is agreed. The word they all agree. So money only works because people agree it has value. That is, the agreement is the foundation of everything. Fast forward to today, the naira in your pocket is just paper. The number in your bank app is just data. So why does it have value? It has value because the government says it does. Because every shop owner or every landlord or every businesses accept it. Because every society has, collectively agreed that this is the medium of exchange, which means you can use it to buy and sell things without the headache of barter. Secondly, it is a store of value, which means that you can earn it today and spend it next month. Then the third one is it's a unit of account, which means you can use this to measure and compare the value of things. So for example, that phone you bought for 200,000 naira, money allows you to know exactly how much it was worth relative to everything else. So without money, how would you even begin to compare the value of a phone to a bag of rice, right? So money is essentially a shared agreement. It's a social technology that makes trade, savings, and measuring value possible at a massive scale. Now, here's where it gets interesting, and this is the part nobody talks about. Money was supposed to be a tool, that is a simple instrument to make exchanging value easier. But somewhere along the way, the tool became the master. So in today's world, money determines where you live, what you eat, what kind of healthcare you receive, what opportunity your children get, and even how people treat you when you walk into your room. So it's shapes relationship, decisions, ambitions, fear. And in Africa, especially Nigeria, money carries an enormous psychological and social weight. Yeah, there's always pressure to provide, pressure to appear successful, pressure from families, from societies, and even from social media. And that pressure makes people do irrational things with money, like chasing it desperately, spending it recklessly, fearing it silently. And here's the irony: the less you understand about money, the more power it has over you. So the more you understand it, the more power you have over it. And that is exactly why this channel exists. So let's quickly talk about the forms of money takes today before because it matters. So we have physical cash. Yeah, we have notes, we have coins printed by your central banks. For example, Central Bank of Nigeria in our case. So this is what most people think of when they think of money. Then we have digital money. That's the balance in your GT Bank or your OP Bank or your vice versa. These ones are not printed anywhere. It just exists as a number in a database. And today, most of the what money exists in this form. Then we have credit. That is money that doesn't exist yet, but is borrowed into existence. So when a bank gives you a loan, it is essentially creating new money. This is one of the most misunderstood aspects of how the financial system works, and we will do a full episode on this very soon. And we have a newer form of money, like the cryptocurrencies. We have Bitcoin, we have Ethereum, which are attempts to create money outside of government control. Where you have no central bank, we have no single authority, just code and collective agreement. So, but most times it's always volatile and really, really fascinating. But we'll cover that too later. So, money is not just magic, it is not mysterious, it's just a human invention. It's powerful, yes, but ultimately something that can be understood, managed, and used intentionally. So, the people who build wealth are not necessarily the smartest or the most talented, They are the ones who took the time to understand how money truly works and then make decisions accordingly. And most times, most of us we are never taught this. We're not taught in school, we're not taught at home, but we are taught to work for money and never understand it. So that's the gap between knowledge. So the gap in knowledge is expensive, and sometimes it's actually very, very expensive. So behind the number doesn't just close the gap, one episode at a time. So in the next episode, we are going one level up, and we're talking about the economy, what is actually is, how it works, and why everything about the price of bread to the value of naira is connected to forces most people never see. So if this videos give you something to think about, please like, subscribe, and share with somebody who needs to hear this. Always remember, the numbers don't lie, but they do hide. I will see you in the next one.